All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're unpacking a really cool and surprisingly complex strategy that sailors use to harness the power of the ocean. It's essentially about turning their boat into a giant surfboard. It's an incredible art form, so let's get into it. And this brings us to a question that seems to break the laws of physics, right? How can a sailboat possibly ride a wave that's moving faster than the wind itself? I mean, the wind is its engine. Well, it turns out that in the right conditions, the wind isn't your only engine. The ocean itself becomes a massive accelerator. To understand how that works, we first have to talk about the downwind challenge. Because when you're sailing in the open ocean, you learn really fast that the water under you is anything but uniform. See, we need to get the difference between two kinds of waves. Most of the time, sailors are dealing with what we call wind chop. It's messy, it's created by local wind, it's kind of weak. But way out in the open ocean, you get swell. And swell is a whole different beast. These are powerful waves that have traveled for hundreds, maybe thousands of miles. They're faster, way stronger, and can even be moving in a totally different direction from the wind. And that presents both a huge challenge and an even bigger opportunity. And when I say a big opportunity, I mean it. We're talking about a potential gain of 2, maybe even 3 knots. Now, if you're not a sailor, that might not sound like a lot, but trust me, in the world of racing, that is a monumental race-winning advantage. The difference between being on the podium and being in the middle of the pack is often who can master this. But here's the thing, pure speed isn't everything. This is where a super important concept called VMG, or velocity made good, comes into play. You can be the fastest boat out there, but if all that speed is just taking you sideways away from the finish line, it's completely useless. The real art is turning that wave-powered speed into direct progress toward your goal. So how do you do that? How do you maximize that VMG? Well, it takes a fundamental shift in your mindset. You have to stop thinking like just a sailor, and you have to start thinking like a surfer. And this is the key. This is the whole game. You've got to stop being a passive object just getting pushed around by the wind. Instead, you become an active hunter, constantly scanning the water, anticipating and positioning yourself to catch the most powerful waves out there. But being a hunter doesn't mean you're just being aggressive and yanking the boat around. It's all about finesse. There's this great saying, if you are trying to change the direction of the boat too quickly, it's just going to slow down. It's so true. If you just crank on the tiller and try to force the boat onto a wave, you're basically just slamming on the brakes. The key is to be smooth, to be deliberate, and to work with the boat, not against it. Okay, so you're thinking like a surfer, but what do you actually do? Well, let's break down the 3 core techniques that make up the sailor's surfing toolkit. First up is the big drop pump. You can really think of this as your ignition switch. It's this sharp, powerful move, and it's designed to create that initial burst of speed that you absolutely need to catch a wave that's coming up from behind you. So here's how it works. You ease the main sheet out, you let the sail kind of breathe and fill up, and then, just as a wave starts lifting the stern of your boat, you yank that sheet back in, hard. That sudden tension makes the back edge of the sail, it's called the leech, flick forward. It's like a whip crack, and it propels the boat forward, giving you just enough acceleration to start surfing. Okay, so you got that initial speed from the pump. Now you have to preserve it. And that's where the gentle turn comes into play. Instead of trying to force the boat into a new direction, you kind of milk it onto the wave with these really smooth, gradual movements, holding on to every single ounce of that momentum. And finally, we have the most surf-like move of all of them, the body weight kick. And yeah, it's just like it sounds. Just as a surfer on a surfboard will shift their weight forward to drop into a wave, a sailor gives this little subtle kick forward with their body at the perfect moment. It helps the boat drop, and it literally kicks the boat down the face of the wave, locking it in for the ride. Okay, so you've got the tools in your toolkit. Now let's look at how the pros combine these techniques in real time. Because it's not just about catching a wave. It's about staying on it for as long as you possibly can. And that really is the next level of the game, right? Catching the wave is one thing, but how do you stay in that sweet spot? How do you stay in that pocket of power as the wave is constantly evolving and moving underneath you? Well, it becomes this constant dynamic loop. You are always scanning left and right, looking for the steepest part of the wave, because that's where the most energy is. You steer towards that power, you surf it directly downwind to maximize your VMG, and then as soon as that section starts to flatten out, you are immediately scanning again for the next steep face. It's just a non-stop cycle.
Now for the master move, jibing on a wave. This is all about timing. A jibe is when you turn the boat's stern through the wind, and it has to be perfect. You wait until just as the wave is lifting the back of your boat, giving you maximum momentum, and at that absolute peak, you execute the jibe. If you time it right, you come out the other side on a new angle, already surfing at top speed. It is an incredibly high-gain maneuver. But, and this is a huge but, here's the most important part of this entire strategy. All of these aggressive wave hunting techniques we've talked about come with one enormous catch. You can have all the technique in the world, but it is completely useless if the conditions aren't right. This entire strategy only works when there's enough power in the system.
And this brings us to the golden rule. In strong winds, let's say 15 knots or more, your absolute priority is to surf the wave. The gains you get from that swell are just too massive to ignore. But in light winds, your priority flips completely. You sail the wind, not the wave.
And the logic is pretty simple. In light air, the boat just isn't fast enough to catch those waves. So all those big turns and aggressive pumps won't help you surf. They'll just bleed your speed and make you sail extra distance for no gain whatsoever. The smartest sailors know when to hunt for waves, and just as importantly, they know when to ignore them.
So in the end, what looks like pure instinct from the outside is actually a series of rapid-fire strategic decisions based on a really deep understanding of the elements. And it kind of makes you wonder, right? What other sports have this kind of hidden dialogue, this secret language between the athlete and their environment? Thanks for watching.